Hi, I'm author and writer's coach Teresa Funke, back with more tips to help you take your writing career in a direction that works well for you. Now today I was asked to tackle a question that should actually get asked more often, and that is, how long does it really take to write a book? Well, I think the better question is, how long does it take to write a good book? Now, we are filming this video right before Thanksgiving, and oftentimes at this time of year, I hear people say to me, you know, the holiday season is really hectic and I know I'm not going to have a lot of time to write, but come January, I'm going to totally recommit. I'm going to spend every day writing, and I'm going to get the first draft of my book written by summer, and then the completed book done by Christmas. To which I smile and nod and wish them well, because as we all know, those of us who set New Year's resolutions, about 8% of us will actually meet that goal. The rest of us will struggle. So let's look today at what it really takes to complete a book and how much time and effort will go into that. Let's start with a simple genre, something that's going to be easy to work with. Now, I'm going to attempt something here I don't usually do. I was born into a family that is missing the mathematical gene, but I'm going to attempt to do some math for you. Let's say we are going back to that middle grade genre. The average middle grade book is 25,000 to 40,000 words long. So let's put you at the upper end of that and say that you're going to write a 40,000 word book. Now let's say that you have decided to be really dedicated to your writing and that you are going to get up an hour early every day before work or before you wake up the children, and you're going to write. Now let's imagine that before you sit down to write, you have done all of your pre-writing work. You have splashed some cold water on your face, gotten a hot cup of coffee, let the dog out, and that you have an actual solid hour to sit down in your chair and write. Now let's also say that you have also done a lot of the research, the plotting, the outlining that will go into this book, and that you know where you're going and are ready to get to work. Now when you sit down, probably the first thing that's going to happen is that you're going to look back over what you wrote yesterday. You're going to reorient yourself to where you were in the story. Then you may look ahead a little bit to where you want to go. And now you're going to start writing. Now let's say you're really focused, and as I said, you know this story really well, and you're able to write 500 words in that hour. Now that's leaving time for the moments when you're going to sit there staring blankly at the screen, and the times when you're going to be hitting the backspace key because those sentences you just wrote were so bad that you know they have to be rewritten. But if you're focused and you're on task and you've got a lot of energy for your project, let's say you get those 500 words done. Now let's say you do this 5 days a week. Well, you'll get 2,500 words done by the end of the week. That's pretty good. So if we do the math and you want a 40,000 word manuscript, it's going to take you 4 months to do that first draft. But are you done yet? Not really. Because I'm going to recommend that you take at least a month off to let that manuscript sit so you can come back to it with fresh eyes. During that time, you might also want to get some feedback if you haven't been getting feedback already, so that you can make sure that your story is on track and being written well. So let's say that takes you up to that 6-month mark. Now the next step that comes along is rewriting. And this, of course, is an extremely important step. Now, a lot of writers think the rewriting will go faster than the initial writing. This is true of a few writers, but for most of us, the rewriting is just as much work as the initial concept building. So I want you to plan on taking about the same amount of time for your rewrite if you're going to do it well. So let's say you spend 4 months rewriting that middle grade novel. And now you want to spend another couple of months getting feedback and letting it sit until you're sure that it's finished. Now you've reached the end of the 12-month mark and you have completed that middle grade book. Now this is assuming, of course, that nothing has gone wrong during the course of the year and derailed your story or interfered with your committed time to write. But you can see it is possible to complete a middle grade book in 1 year. Ah, but Teresa, you say you're forgetting weekends. I have more time to write on the weekends. I can increase the amount of productivity every week. But let's get real for a moment. Let's say you've set aside time to write on Saturday. But we all know that part of that Saturday writing time is going to be spent making up for Wednesday when you were too tired to get up and kept hitting your snooze alarm. And part of your Saturday writing time is also going to get taken up by that unexpected phone call from your mother that you absolutely have to take. So even if you are able to build more time into your week, it isn't all going to be productive time every week. So setting that 5-week schedule and saying about 2,500 words a week for you might be a good goal to have. Now you may be wondering how this process applies to other genres. Well, take for example that you're writing a YA novel. The typical YA novel is 45,000 to 80,000 words. So you can do the math to figure out how long it's going to take you to write a good draft of a YA novel. A typical adult novel is 70,000 to 100,000 words, sometimes a little bit longer depending on the genre. So again, you can imagine it's going to take you 2, maybe 3 years to write a good draft of an adult novel. Now this is also assuming that you have also progressed to a certain stage in your writing where you're not a total beginner. If you are a beginner and you still need to take classes and read books and go to conferences to learn writing, that's going to be taking place while you are writing your book. You can probably double or triple the amount of time it's going to take you to write that book because you'll be learning on the job. Now this does not include the time it's going to take you to find an editor and an agent or to self-publish your book. I am only talking about the time it's going to take you to write a good book. So if you want to speed up this process, there are a few things you can do. First, you can simply add more time to your writing life every week so that you build in more time to write, and the more time you have, the more progress you will make. Secondly, maybe you can take some time away, a week or a couple weeks, maybe even a leave of absence from your job, so that you can focus on getting that book done. Now if you do that and you are able to get some focused writing time, you might want to take a look at my video on how to plan a writing retreat so that you can make the most of your time away and make the most progress in your writing during that allotted time. Now I want to pose a question back to you. Why are we always in such a hurry to finish our books? I think it's partly our culture. We talk a lot about lists in this culture, lists like bucket lists. Now there's nothing wrong with a bucket list, I have one myself. But the problem with lists is that the goal is to cross things off the list. And the more things you cross off in the least amount of time, the better off you are, right? Well, the problem with doing that with a book is that a book needs a lot more development than just crossing it off the list. So let's take an example. Let's say a guy decides to go to the Eiffel Tower and have his picture taken at the Eiffel Tower. And this has always been on his bucket list. He doesn't have a lot of time and he wants to get this done quickly. So he takes a weekend off work, he gets on a plane, he flies to Paris, he jumps in a cab and he says, "Take me to the Eiffel Tower." The cab driver then says, "Well, there's a couple of routes I could take you on. I could take you on a direct route, or I could take you on a scenic route where you'll see some beautiful scenery in Paris." And the man says, No, just get me there as fast as you can. I want to get this done." Now he gets out of the car and he takes the picture and he's very pleased with himself. Maybe he even takes a moment to savor the moment. He gets back on the plane and he comes home. Well, guess what? When he gets home, he discovers that the picture is blurry and he's not going to want to show it to his friends or his family. Now he crossed something off his list, but he didn't get what he really wanted. What he really wanted was a good picture that he could frame, that he could show his children, that he could be proud of. I think the same thing happens to us when we're writing our books. We have a tendency, especially now with the increase in self-publishing and e-publishing and new technologies, to be in a hurry to rush our books to the marketplace. But when we do that, we lose the enjoyment of the journey along the way. And we lose the ability to write a good book that's going to get reviewed and recommended and maybe even given awards, the kinds of things that are going to help it make a dent in this very crowded marketplace. So the question should never be, how quickly can I write my book? It should be, how long is it going to take me to write a book really well? And the answer is, it doesn't matter how long it takes. The end goal should always be to write the best book that you can write. Now that said, I know that for some people keeping on schedule and keeping on track is important. And I have noticed with my clients that the clients who progress the quickest and the best are the ones who meet with me on a regular basis, either monthly or quarterly, to stay on track with their goals. So if you do want to progress quicker with completing your book, you might want to think about working with a coach like me, who's going to keep you on track and keep you moving forward. If you are interested in hearing about that kind of consulting, please contact me at the website below, www.teresafunk.com, and let's work on a schedule that's going to get you moving forward so that you can complete your book. And remember to join me next time when we are going to look at the 7 different forms of writer's block. I'm going to identify them for you, and I'm going to tell you how to work through them. In the meantime, enjoy your writing and make progress in a steady path.